Hello everyone and welcome. In this series of videos, we are going to be learning how to make awesome plots for data visualization using the Matplotlib in Python. The Matplotlib is the most popular comprehensive library for creating static, animated and interactive visualizations. And as you can see, it has a variety of plots that you can always refer to from the official documentation. And you may choose the one that is the best representative of your data story. So we are going to be learning how to make these plots, but first we need to get the understanding of the basic structure of this Matplotlib and the subplots. So without wasting any time, let's get started. So I opened up my Jupyter notebook, and for using the Matplotlib, first we need to import the libraries. So I will simply import the libraries for the Matplotlib, which is import matplotlib.pyplot as plt. And if the Matplotlib is not installed in your system, then you may use the simple pip install matplotlib. That will install this library in your system. So in Matplotlib, a graph consists of many components, but you need not to understand all of the components. The only two components that you need to take care of is the figure and the axis. So a figure object is a box-like container in which everything is drawn. A plot resides inside the figure object, and inside the figure we have axis. So you can compare a figure like a canvas in which we can draw, and an axis is the location within the canvas. So a given figure may contain many axes, but a given axis can only be in one figure. So if you have not understood, we'll understand that while making. So we can create a blank figure by using plt.subplot. So this is a blank figure, and this is a one axis, and when I say like a figure may have multiple axes, and when I do plt.subplots, then it is showing like this is a one figure with one axis. But if I say 2-2, which means it will be having 2 rows and 2 columns, that means it will be having four plots. So when I say plt.subplots, it means it is a figure having 4 axes. So this is a whole figure which is having 4 axes, and each axis is a representative of one plot. And for choosing a particular plot in this matrix, you have to choose the axis, and the way of choosing the axis is simple as we do in the matrix, like axis 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0 and 1, 1. But we won't be dealing with the multiple plots right now. First we need to get the understanding of the basic simple plot. So I'll be removing this thing. Now you can customize the size of the subplot. For that we need to create the figure object. So plt.figure, and we may define the fixed size, which takes a tuple as an input, and the parameters are width into height. So for the time being I will make 7 by 7, and then again we need to do plt.subplot. So remember, when you are dealing with the single plot, you say subplot, and when we do the matrix thing like I showed previous, then we need to do subplots. So now if I'll enter this, I'll be having more of a square representation, which is a 7 by 7 matrix, and these are in the inches. And these inches are not the actual representative of our ordinary scale, because these inches are calculated based on the pixels of your screen. And so we can increase the pixel size. DPI is the dots per inch. So if we say 10, then with the same scale our size will be different, as you can see. And if I say DPI equals to 200, the scale will be different. So based on the DPI you can increase or decrease the quality. So I'll go back to again normal graph, and let me decrease the size of my screen so it is clearly visible, or let me make it 5 by 5. Alright, so now that we are done with the basic structure, let us create our first plot. So for that I'll create a simple data. It takes arrays as an input, and for making a mountain like curve I'll enter random numbers. So now that we have created our data, let's fit this data into this plot. So for that we need to simply copy this, paste it here, and then we need to say plt.plot, and inside we need to pass the data. So a simple graph is executed. Now you may be wondering that a graph requires a y and a x. So in general we should be passing both the y and x in the plot method. But if we don't pass both the values and we pass a single data, then it considers it as a y value. And for each particular set, it assigns at an interval of 1. So the 10th will be assigned to 0, the 5 will be assigned to 1, and so on. It will add itself the x values at an interval of 1. For the sake of simplicity, in this tutorial I'll be passing a singular value. So now we are done with the basic plot. Now we need to add the labels to the plot. Now for adding the labels, I'll copy these things. And for setting up the labels, we need to say pylt.x label and then pass a string and then pass the value as a string that you want to say. So for I'll simply say x label, and the same goes for the y label. And for the title of the graph, we need to say pylt.title, and again we need to pass the string, so I'll say title. So now we have our title, x label and y label. You can also change the size of the label by assigning values to the size, and it takes the value as a float. So let's say if I say 5, then it decreases the value. Let's say I'll say 20. So now my x label is bigger, so I can do, and also I can add the padding. So for that I need to say label pad equals to 20. So as you can see, there is a gap. If it is not visible, let's say 50. So now it is clearly visible that it is a gap, so I'll keep it as 20. Now the same thing goes for the y, so I'll simply copy and paste it. So there are a couple of other parameters in the plot method that we can do to enhance our data. So you can see the official documentation for that. So the basic thing is like we can set the color also. So I'll simply say color equals to, let's say, red. So it will make my line into red color. Then we can define the width as well. So it takes the value as a float. So if I pass 2, then it increases the width of my line. Let's say I'll set 6. So it is changing the thickness of my width, so I'll keep it at 2. So we can change the line style as well. So for that I need to copy this line style and pass the parameters as dash or double dash. Single dash will be a continuous line. Now if I pass double dash, it will be dotted lines. So we can also add the markers in our graph. For that we can refer to the markers documentation, and these are the strings that which will assign. It will be giving us these symbols. So I'll copy this thing and I'll use it here in my graph. So now for each data point I'll be getting this symbol. Let us try with some another symbol. So let's say I'll use P. So P is for plus. Okay, O was better. So for providing the legend, we need to say pylt.legend. But it won't be showing anything because it doesn't know like which values it has to show. So for that we need to here say label equals to whatever the name will be assigning will be reflecting here. So it is simple data, so I'll here represent it as data. So let's say you have different values, whatever the data it is, you can name that and it will be reflecting here. And for making it more visible, we can add few parameters like shadow equals to true, and then we can also do the frame on, and then we can define the face color as well. Now if we want custom values in our axis of either x-axis or y-axis, we can define the ticks, and for doing that I'll simply copy this and I need to add one more method here. So I'll make it more visible. pylt.xticks. Now this takes two parameters. You can define, it takes array-like structure. So first array will be the values that you want to represent here, and the second array you can add the labels to it. Let's say you want to say for particular values, let's say for 2 you want to represent as string 2, or you want to say as first or second, so that you can add as a label. So let's say I'll define instead of 0 to 468, I'll create it as 1, 5 and 9. So now the chart is equally distributed and I am having only these 3 ticks, and I can add different label to it. Like I want to represent 1 as hi, and then 2 as bye, and then 3 as hello. So this is general example. What I want to represent is you can add a custom label to your particular ticks. So for the time being, I'll remove this. So now that we have our graph ready, we can also save the graph. And for saving the graph, you need to say pyrt.save and provide the name of the graph that you want to save. So I'll say trial.png. Saving. So the graph will be saved in your current directory. So our graph is saved. So as you can see, it is not showing all the parameters correctly. So you can toggle with the shape and size of the graph and with different APIs, so it will be showing some correct data. Now you can choose a different number of styles from the presets styles available in the Matplotlib library. And for selecting one, you need to select pyrt.style.available. It will return a list of the styles that are presently available in the Matplotlib library. And for using one of the styles, we need to say pyrt.style.use, and in the parameter you need to provide any one of the style that you want to use. So I'll go with the ggplot. Now if I run this, the style is applied to our whole graph. Now if I again run this frame, our plot is different. So let's say this time I will go with the 538 and replace this ggplot with the 538. And now if I again run this graph, it will be in different format. And for making this graph more clear, let's say I'll assign this as a size of 10 by 10 and a DPI of 200. So now if I'll go back to our trial.png, the graph is more clear. So I'll decrease the label pad from 20 to 10. And if I now save the graph and I go back to my home directory and open the trial.png, the graph is more clearer. So that's it in this video, and in the next couple of videos we'll be learning how to choose which graph based on what particular data you have, and then how we can customize those particular set of graphs. So I hope to see you in my next video, and if you haven't subscribed this channel, please subscribe and share with your friends. So stay tuned, I'll see you soon.